All right, let's just jump right into one of the most unbelievable business stories you will ever hear. It all starts with a failure so massive, it's actually kind of hard to wrap your head around.
1,009 times. That's how many people told one man no. Can you just imagine hearing that your idea is a joke over 1,000 times? But believe it or not, that isn't even the lowest point of his story.
This is where he ended up at age 65. Broke, his life's work completely destroyed, holding his very first Social Security check, and it's for just $105. Now, for most people, that's the end of the story, right? Game over. For him, it was just the beginning.
So the real question is, how on earth does a man past retirement age with nothing but a tiny government check turn over 1,000 rejections into one of the most famous brands on the planet? It wasn't luck. It was something way more powerful.
To really get his success, you first have to understand his failures. See, before he was the icon we all know, Harlan Sanders spent 65 years basically mastering the art of not succeeding.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It is pure chaos. This wasn't a career path. It was like a pinball machine of jobs. He dropped out of school, lied about his age to join the army, got himself fired from the railroad, and get this, he even ended his law career by getting into a fistfight with his own client in a courtroom. For 40 years, it was just one dead end after another.
But then, after decades of just wandering, it finally looked like he'd made it. He found his one true passion, the one thing that actually worked.
So, in Corbin, Kentucky, he opens up a little service station and starts selling meals on the side, and his pan-fried chicken became legendary. He invents this whole new way to pressure fry it, perfects his secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices, and his place gets so famous, the governor makes him an honorary Kentucky colonel. After a lifetime of failing, he had finally won.
And then, disaster struck. And it wasn't even a bad business decision, it was just progress. The government built a new interstate that completely bypassed his town. His customers, they just vanished overnight. The business he poured 25 years of his life into was suddenly worthless. He was forced to sell everything just to pay off his debts. At 65 years old, he was right back at square one.
And this is where the real story begins. He's at rock bottom, he's got nothing left but his recipe and this unshakable belief in his product. So he decides to fight one last time. And this next chapter, it's just a profound test of the human spirit.
His plan was as simple as it was completely insane. He loads up his old car with a spice blend and a pressure cooker and just hits the road. He'd walk into a restaurant, offer to cook for the owner, and if they liked it, they could add it to their menu for a royalty of just 4 cents apiece.
This was his life for 2 straight years, crisscrossing the country, sleeping in the back of his car. The only food he had to eat was the chicken he'd cook for restaurant owners who would then tell him no. He was literally surviving on his own rejected product. I mean, think about the mental toll here. Day after day, a 65-year-old man in a white suit just facing ridicule. He wasn't just rejected, he was mocked. People told him he was a crazy old man with a worthless idea. Most of us would quit after 5 no's. He endured over 1,000.
So, after 2 years of soul-crushing rejection, after 1,000 slammed doors, he made attempt number 1,010, and this was the one that changed everything.
He walks into this humble burger joint in Salt Lake City, Utah, owned by a guy named Pete Harmon. He makes his pitch, he cooks his chicken, and Harmon takes a bite. He immediately saw the potential. And the results? They were absolutely explosive. In the very first year, Harmon's sales more than tripled, with 75% of that growth coming directly from the chicken. And here's the crucial point. That first yes was way more than just a sale. It was a partnership. It was actually Harmon and his team who came up with the legendary name Kentucky Fried Chicken. They invented the iconic bucket for takeout, and they even trademarked the slogan, "It's finger-lickin' good." The brand that we all know today was born from that very first partnership.
That one single yes from Pete Harmon was the crack in the dam. The story, which had been this slow, painful crawl for 2 years, was suddenly about to become a rocket ship launch.
Look at this growth. It's just staggering. He had one franchisee in 1952. Just over a decade later, there were more than 600 KFC locations across 4 countries, making it the largest fast food operation in the United States at the time. The old man everyone laughed at was now a titan of the industry.
By 1964, the company had just gotten too big for a man in his 70s to manage. He sold the corporation for $2 million,
which is about $20 million today. But the deal stipulated that he would remain the company's living brand ambassador for life. He sold the business, but he never, ever sold its soul.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We've seen the failure, the ruin, the struggle, and the incredible success. So now it's time to unveil the secret that made it all possible.
So what was it? What was the single most powerful advantage that allowed a 65-year-old man to turn 1,009 rejections into a global empire?
It was this: unbreakable persistence. But it wasn't just blind persistence, no. It was this stubborn, rugged refusal to quit that was fueled by an absolute, unshakable belief in his product. He knew his chicken was extraordinary, and that belief was the armor that protected him from 1,000 no's.
You know, his story leaves us with some really powerful takeaways. First, success has absolutely no age limit. For him, 65 is a starting line. Second, you have to be willing to reinvent yourself. And finally, you have to believe in your one thing so fiercely that rejection just becomes another stepping stone on your path. The story of Colonel Sanders isn't really about chicken. It's about the power of the human spirit. And it leaves us with a question for ourselves. What's a rejection you faced that you're now more determined than ever to overcome?